What do you mean I'm on mute? Can anyone hear me? Microphone check test 1 2 1 2. Microphone test 1 2. It's absolute fucking nightmare. Yeah, everyone can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
You're taking the piss too. Right.
Cool,
Right. Sorry
really
about that. Messing about, everyone. This is we've only got 13 people watching now, Pat. Well done.
Don't blame me. It's your fault, mate.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. Today we have Pat McGinnis with us from NHP UK. Basically, we're not here to talk much about that. I'll give you a little rundown of what he's about. He thinks we should leave the UN Refugee Convention 1951 and cease all sorts of immigration, but that's not why we're here today. So, Pat, if you want to do a little bit what we're here today talking about, please.
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm Pat McGinnis. I'm Treasurer, Press Officer for National Housing Party United Kingdom. And I've been anti-immigration nationalist activist since 2012. I was originally with the BNP trying to save this country from destruction since 2012 in a civilized and democratic way. We modernised sufficiently like Marine Le Pen did, and unfortunately two crooks took over the BNP and we lost the court case, and now we've started this new party, National Housing Party United Kingdom. John Lawrence is our leader. John Lawrence is standing in an election on the 17th of November. If you're in the Northwest, please get in touch to help John knock on doors. But this topic we are actually going to talk about is quite interesting because I started thinking about this when I was in the BNP in like 2013 because I really did not like this word racist. And because everybody knows how destructive that word has been. So I sort of started looking into it. And what I found is I came to the conclusion that this word racist is this concept of racism is impossible. And so to get to the bottom of that, you need to obviously look at the multi-race concept and what you think of that. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Jim.
So, all very interesting stuff, Pat. So, you don't like the word racist? You think it's been detrimental to society, the breakup of society, or what is it?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's basically, it's in my opinion, it's a myth. It's impossible. And it's ended up in our law courts. It's taken over the media. It's taken over our education system, and it's not true. And I'm going to explain my argument tonight of how I came to that conclusion. And I mean, the first thing we got to do is define what the word race means. You know, what does the word race actually mean to people?
Well, it's funny if you say that. Yeah, go on. Yeah. Sorry, go on. No, please. No, please. You first. Go on.
Okay. So we need to define exactly what this word race means, because I've heard 20 different opinions, and this is another reason why this shouldn't be used anymore in society, because people have got 10 to 20 different opinions what it actually means. And I'll explain to you exactly what I think it means. And you kind of done some investigating yourself, Jim, saying it originated around 1600, was it?
Well, no. See, it's very interesting, right? So what I found out was that the word race was what I thought it meant. It was to have a race, like a running race, like a competition. And that had been the norm. That had been a normal thing since about 800 years ago. But the thing is, they changed the meaning, the definition of it about 1560, apparently, which was what I found very, very interesting. But yeah, so what do you think? What does race mean to you then, Pat?
Right. So I'm going to try and explain what I think it is. So for me, the term race, the multi-race concept, like there is different races. For argument's sake, let's just say 5 races. Yeah. So for argument's sake, there's 5 races. So I'm going to give you example A and example B. Example A is the multi-race concept, and then example B would be the human race, because everybody uses this term human race, and this is what is so contradicting about the whole thing. Is so many people use the term human race, and then the next sentence they'll say there's different races, where what I'm saying is it's impossible to have a race within a race. So you either agree with example A or example B. But just to clarify, I don't use any of these terms anymore. I don't use human race, and I don't use the word race anymore at all. I describe humanity as we're a species and we have different breeds. We're humans. That's how I define humanity. And I'd just like to say that the Lord Jesus Christ is King of humanity.
Amen.
So basically, you've got example A, which is the multi-race concept, and then you've got example B, which is the human race concept. Now, example A, if you say that you believe there's different races, those 5 races, this is for argument's sake, because some people say there's 7 races, some people say there's 10, some people say there's 60, some people say there's 3.
That's what it says. That's what it says on the thing that the research I've done is there's no consensus. There's no agreed amount on how many races. There's no defining amount. So it's a nonsense from there.
It's completely misleading, the whole thing, right? So example A is, for argument's sake, 5 races, and each one of those 5 races would have started at different times and different locations on planet Earth separately. So they are not biologically related. So that would be example A, and that's what I call the multi-race concept. So they would say that Africans and Europeans are not genetically related. They're not related by DNA. That's what the multi-race concept means to me, and that is what it means, because that is why it's such a powerful word and so effective. When people start talking about this word, it means literally humanity has been divided and they're not related. So example A is multi-race concept, and the 5 races are not biologically related. Example B is the human race, and humanity would have started, let's say Africa for argument's sake, and humanity evolved out of there, spread out across the globe into different climates. They was eating different things, so humans began to change into different appearances. So if you say, like the left say, oh, the human race, there's one race of human race, but in the next sentence they'll say, oh, he's a racist, but you can't believe in that. You cannot believe in that concept if you're saying that there's the human race. So if you're saying that there's one human race, racism is impossible, because
Amen.
there's no such thing as that concept. Now, like I said before, I don't use those terms at all anymore, because they are just misleading, and we don't need to use them anymore, in my opinion. But just to let people know that, I'm not a lefty. I'm definitely not coming from a leftist angle. I've got a lot of examples of to back my argument up, to say that this whole concept of multi-race concept is inaccurate and not correct. So the first one is, racism is impossible. So recently they have proved, in 2013,
we're all related, didn't we? That's what you're going to say. You're going to say we're all related.
Yeah. So there's two professors, Graham Coop and Peter Ralph from Californian University, and they done a study. They managed to do a DNA study, and they found out that actually all the humans on the planet Earth are actually related, which debunks the concept that each race is not biologically connected, related. So yes, and one of the examples is that you get dogs, right? You get a species of dogs, and people don't say, "Oh,
no, you get breeds. You get breeds. They're all one species. Yeah.
They're species and they're different breeds, and that's the same with humans. We're a human species, and we get different breeds.
That's right.
No one starts saying that the Labrador is different from a different galactic race than a staff or something like that. And another thing, what kind of debunks the whole multi-race concept is if every single human on planet Earth kind of mixed up together, which I don't want to happen, by the way, because I like diversity. I like different nations and different continents, different people. But if everyone did mate together and it just like until there was just everyone looked the same, well, it's going to be one species again, isn't it? It's not going to, it doesn't make sense that these people who keep on saying, especially leftists, when you tell them, oh, there's no such thing as racism, they go absolutely mental. And they're like, yes, there is. Because I say, well, there's no such thing as different races. So that means racism's impossible. And they don't like it. And then they hang on to it. And I say to them, why are you so desperate to divide humanity? And
but that's all they've got. That's why they clutch onto that, because that's all they got. They think that's some sort of virtue for them to signal. And that's why
it's their holy grail. It's like they worship that word. I mean,
right. Yeah. So should we get on to like where it come from then?
Well, look, I've got a few examples here.
Go on then. Carry on.
So, because it can't be proven, even before 2013, when it was proven that this concept is not correct, right? That the different races are not biologically related. It's in our law system in the 60s. So they're like prosecuting people in courts, right? When you go to court for a criminal trial, they have to find out who the victim was, what property was stolen, where's the receipts for the stuff, what was stolen and everything. But with these race cases, they never actually say to the court the actual official name of this perceived race that has been attacked. And you would think in murder trials and things like that, you'd think that the lawyers would say, well, like you're charging my client with this charge, which you get more prison for. Can you define what the name of this race, what was perceived to be attacked or whatever? Do you get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
That's one thing which stands out for me. So the Met Police, right, are continually accused of being racist. It's just like we're on about the fifth one now. It was on the news yesterday that the Met Police have got to be cleansed from all this institutional racism, right? And it's because it doesn't exist. This is why it's like in the Middle Ages, a witch hunt. They're looking for witches, but really they're just using it as a tool to do what their political agenda, yeah. And this is exactly what's happened now. They're continually looking for this racism, right, which is impossible and it doesn't even exist. And this is why it will never stop, because they can't find it. It's not there. And that's my opinion on that one. Slave masters. When the slave trade was going on, and this kind of wraps into my theory of how they came across this theory. So the slave masters, in order to get people to work for them, to look after the slaves or whatever, to look over the slaves, they would have had to tell them, look, these people are not they're not related to us. They're a different race. You know, because if it's very difficult to get someone to treat someone.
Who would do such a thing like that, Pat? Who would do such a thing?
What do you mean?
Or you're saying, what are you saying? You're saying, who was saying this stuff? Who's trying to trick people? Who's deceiving people into thinking these people ain't slave masters? Did you say?
Right. The slave masters, obviously.
It's not what I read. It's not what I read. You gave me the idea, and I've done the research, mate. You bang on the money, but it ain't like that.
Well, what are you talking about? The people who actually were at the top of the tree of the slave trade. Is that what you're saying?
No. See, the thing is, yeah. Well, we're gonna go through. I've got it all. I've got it all in the thing that I've got to read out and that, right? But
so what my
go on.
is that to tell people that they are biologically related to you, it would be very, very difficult to find people to work for you to treat them as slaves, and that's why they kept that theory going, in my opinion, which has now been proved that it's not true, it's not correct. So So when you know, like I like terms like ethnicity, indigenous, and things like that. That's the terms I use. And so ethnicity. If you say to someone, "Oh, you're an ethnicist," an ethnicist, right? It doesn't mean nothing because there's no serious thing to it. Like, but the word racist means one, you're saying that race is not biologically related to you,
and they're inferior.
Two, they're inferior, and three, you're attacking them. You're getting accused of three things at once, right? We're going to get to that bit a bit later on, yeah. But so you know, if you say so, you're a tribalist, you're an ethnicist, you're a whitist, you're a blackist. It don't have no weight to it because of this theory, the multi-race theory, the multi-race concept theory. So the early explorers, yeah. The early thinkers, the early scientists in Europe, right? In my opinion, they'd seen European people. They'd maybe got to the Middle East, maybe North Africa, and they said, right, this is the human race. We are a race, right? This is my theory, yeah. So then they went exploring around the world, and they come across Africans, and they thought, bloody hell, who are this lot? They look different, right? And they thought this must be a different race, right? Same with the Aborigines, maybe with the Chinese, I don't know, but that's where this multi-race theory came in because they'd already assigned that label.
Comes from eugenics.
Well, and they didn't see these other people. So then, because they look so different, yeah, they thought they can't be biologically related to us. These must be a different species or whatever, yeah. And that's how it came in. Then the slavery came, and they used that to manipulate people to do what they did to them and all that, yeah. So I don't use the term racial differences because I don't believe in that concept. I say genetic differences. Obviously, Africans look different from Europeans and Chinese look different from Europeans. I call that genetic differences. That's what I call that. This term, the white race, is out of date. It's not correct. I see it as a weakness. There's a lot of nationalists who use this term, the white race, and things like that. Like I don't have a problem with them believing in a multi-race concept.
Oh, mate.
I certainly don't think they should be demonized for believing that, right? But
sorry, go on, Pat. Yeah, no, go on.
I certainly don't think they should be demonized for it, but I see it using that terminology. It's racial, white race, and all this sort of language. It's out of date. Even if they believe it's true, it's out of date now. And I see it as a weakness for nationalism to keep using this terminology. So even the term mixed race, I don't use that.
No, it's based on ethnicity, Dave. Sorry,
right?
Pat.
So like like let's just take an example. Ferdinand, that footballer, what's his name? Rio Ferdinand, right?
The drug taker. Is he the drug taker?
I would say he is either half African, half European, half white, half black, mixed ethnicity, mixed heritage. But to say mixed race, to me, it sounds like an intergalactic scientific experiment, like of merging two not related. You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounds to me, and I don't think it's correct because I don't believe in this multi-race concept. Therefore, I don't use this term. I don't use the term racial, mixed race, racist, racism. Do not use it at all. I mean, with dogs, you'd say a crossbreed, and people used to use that term. I mean, the leader of our party, John Lawrence, he often says he describes himself as half caste. And that was a quite a commonly used term years ago, but it's now become politically incorrect to use that term.
I think of worse things to call him.
But yeah, I would say John's mixed ethnicity. He's half English, half Jamaican.
Is half caste not all right to say now, then, Pat? Is that what you're saying?
Well, John uses it, and John's not politically correct. John is very against political correctness, and but if you was to say that in a mainstream media interview, you'd probably get pulled up for it. Put it that way. The mainstream media, GB News included, are continually pushing the multi-race concept, just non-stop.
Fallacy. It's a fallacy, man.
It's incorrect. It's incorrect, mate.
That's what makes it a fallacy.
And what they're doing is, you know, even when there's a case, the mainstream media might say, "Oh, there was a racist attack in Hackney," right? They haven't even spoke to the suspect, right? They haven't even asked them, "Do you believe in a multi-race concept?" So that the mainstream media are already pushing it. They're already expecting the public to go along with this multi-race concept, which has destabilized our society completely.
Yeah, can you address this then, Pat? Can you address this question?
Africans and Europeans are not the same completely, but we're not completely different. You know, whether you like it or not, we are not completely different.
For instance, For instance, we're going to qualify your argument. You're going to qualify your argument. You're going to state something, and you're going to qualify it with something else. So backs up what you're saying.
Africans and Europeans are different, but we're not completely different.
Yeah, right. Now you're just saying the same thing again.
Well, what else is there to clarify? Everyone knows what an African looks like.
Right. I'll do it after. Don't worry. I'm going to just carry on.
Right. And also, I'm not saying that people don't get bullied because of the colour of their skin, yeah? And I'm against all bullying. Our party, the National Housing Party, we're against bullying. And that includes people bullying people with the word racist and the word transphobia, whatever those phobias and isms are, we're against using those words to bully people. So this term racism, yeah, it's allowed the grooming gangs to flourish. It's allowed knife crime to flourish in London.
Right.
This is how damaging it is to our society, this multi-race concept fallacy, as you put it.
So basically just to shut down discourse, call people racist so there ain't no sort of discourse or redress or remedy for any sort of heinous goings on committed by other ethnicities.
It's such a serious crime now that you could lose your career over it. And that's
a double whammy. The people that made it, it's a double whammy for the people that made it. I don't think they envisaged like how useful it would be to them in the long run, to be honest with you. But anyway, sorry, I keep cutting you off.
That's all right. But also, if you're a Christian, yeah, Adam and Eve, right? Humanity came from Adam and Eve, yeah. So there's no separation of genetics. We're all related. So that's just if you're a Christian. So yeah, people who know me well. No, I never used the word racist. I never called people like a Chris Donald murder, which was 10 times worse than Stephen Lawrence murder, like 20 times worse. All we hear about is Stephen Lawrence murder, right? But I call the Chris Donald murder, it's an anti-white murder. That's what I've called it. Because I'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, as I said, 2013, it was proven that Africans, Asians, Europeans are related with DNA, which debunks the multi-race concepts. Like we said earlier, how many races are there? There's a massive debate on how many there are. It just goes on and on, this debate. And this is why we need to stop using this terminology, in my opinion. So basically the whole nation has been tried and found guilty of this concept, right? It's all in their law system. It's in the mainstream media, it's in the schools, everywhere you go. And the population has basically been found guilty without a trial. Like what I'm saying now, they wouldn't listen to me. Like I tried to get on GB News to tell Andrew Doyle, we'll get into him later on, that it's impossible. He keeps using this, oh, that's racist, this is racist. And it just drives me mad. So
interesting take. Go on, sorry.
So a lot of people disagree we come out of Africa. Some people say we did, right? But if the lefties say we come out of Africa, the white South Africans are at home, aren't they? That's their land.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I've got some more.
Right.
So, like the multi-race concept, along with immigration, has completely destabilised our country. Yeah. So you could argue that if we didn't have immigration, this multi-race concept couldn't have destabilised our country, but it would have still destabilised America because of the 40 million or so descendants of slaves who lived there. And whatever seems to happen in America, we get it over here, indicating that the people who actually control the West and America are sort of like in control of what is going to happen here and in America together. So the state are using the multi-race concepts to basically persecute the white population. And this is what annoys me with some nationalists. They keep saying the white race and all this. And that, like, if you say you're a white nationalist, that means that you want one big nation of Eastern Europe, Western Europe, UK, America, all one nation. I don't want that. I like individual nations. I'm a British nationalist.
That's what Mosley wants. Fucking traitor. Sorry.
And also, like this term, ethno-nationalism. Ethno-nationalism, it doesn't make sense. You're either a nationalist or you're not a nationalist. The word nationalist comes from the word native. So to say you're an ethno-nationalist only promotes the false concept of civic nationalism. There's nothing nationalist about civic because, as we all know, it just means a bit of paper. Yeah, and people say, "Oh, this word racist it's not powerful anymore." Listen, I've been going mad about this since 2012. As I said, it's getting worse. As I said, it was in the news yesterday. The Met Police, they're racist, institutionally racist, and it's all false. And they're looking for something that's not there, a witch hunt. So basically, the multi-race concept is a perfect example of why you shouldn't lie and spread false information, because look what it has done to our country. The whole country is walking on eggshells, and this word racist is just everywhere, non-stop, and it ain't going away until we stop using this terminology like I have, but I'm only using it to describe the situation in this live stream. Yeah. So I'm nearly there, don't worry. So there's a substitute for these words: racist. Bully. We're all against bullying. I'm against bullying. Our party is against bullying. That's one of our main things, is not to use these politically correct words: racist, Islamophobia, homophobia, all these politically correct words. So the substitutes you can use for this term race, yeah, these are the words I use, yeah. Native, tribe, ethnicity, Northwest European, indigenous, genetic differences, white, black, African, European, Asian, breed, DNA, haplogroup. Why can't we just use those words? And they're much more civilized. What are you laughing at?
Oh, Pat. Oh, mate. Yeah, brilliant.
So, like I say, we don't need to use those words. There's a substitute for every single situation. But there's certain people who are driving it, the mainstream media, the law courts, and they're messing up our country.
Certain people driving all that, though, as well, isn't there, really?
Sorry?
There's certain people driving that stuff as well. Them institutions that you mentioned, there's certain forces that are working behind to keep them all working in sort of lockstep, like you were saying before earlier on, across the pond, so to speak. They sort of run the same game over there. It's almost like the same people are running it all.
Well, it's a conspiracy theory because like before.
Shall we have a look into where it all come from? Or have you got more? You got more?
One minute. Right. So I use the term anti-white because we're living in an anti-white agenda, yeah, and we can prove it. It's visually anti-white. They're advertising for jobs all the time, excluding white people. There, because I use the word anti-white, I would also use the word anti-black, right? But there is no visual evidence of any anti-black incidents because if there was, you'd be on mainstream media and you'd be in prison. But they won't do that for the anti-white stuff. You see,
you're allowed to be anti-white. It's the thing. That's what they want. They want people to be anti-white.
Yeah. So the term anti-white is a doing thing. It's an action. It's something that has been done. Whereas this term racism, it's a thought. It's inside your brain, and this is what they basically convicted the whole population of without a trial. Yeah, that's about it, really. That's all my examples.
Right. So, how do I show this now? Right. Can everyone see that? I can't see the chat. Hang on.
I can't see the chat.
You can't see the chat, Pat?
No, they can call me whatever they like, mate. I don't Who is this flip-flop head?
Right. Let's get ready to rumble. Can we read that? Let me see. You can see that, surely. Right, it says race, noun, 1, act of running. No, not, what is that noun? Late Old English, also race with an E and an S. A narrative and account, circa 1300. An act of swift running, a hurried attack. Also a course of life or conduct, swift current from Old Norse ras. A running or a rush of water. Right? That's right, very interesting. So like I was saying, that's from 1300 years ago. You read it down here, it says 1200. It goes, no, it's 800 years ago. It goes to 1200. Yeah, I'm on the wrong thing now. I'm looking at it on the wrong thing. That's why I can't see it.
Well, don't quote me on this, but I don't think this term race is in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. It's like you say, it's from around 1600 it came around. And like I say, I think it was because of the early explorers came across different populations and they thought they were not biologically related, and that's where it came from. But it's not correct. And
yeah, no, look. Circa 1200 here, yeah. So earliest thing, that rush is the same thing as a race. It means running and that, yeah, like I said. So it was really, really bloody interesting, yeah, is when it starts getting used to describe different races, because it's like what you were saying about people trying to like convince other people to use slaves, right?
yeah.
I thought that was really interesting, right? Because yeah, I need to share this one now. We got to watch a minute. We got to watch a video, boys. We only got to watch the first minute of it, minute and a half. We have got to watch it because it's just adding to the point I'm trying to make. Right, one sec. Share screen, Microsoft tab. All right.
So what I'm saying is even if you do believe in the multi-race concept, you're a nationalist, right? That language.
Hang on. Is that sharing?
Nah, it's not working. That's why I was talking.
The fuck? We're halfway through a video, Pat. What do you mean?
Playing.
What do you mean it's not working?
It's not.
It
playing.
was working. It is working. It is playing. It was. It was.
Sorry, it's not.
What do you mean? It was. It played 33 seconds into it.
Sorry, mate.
What do you mean it's not on yours?
Not on my side, mate.
That's fucking insane, mate. Right, this is the interesting bit. It's not. How comes no one can fucking see it, man? It's coming up. This. Ah! Why isn't this working? Why is this not working? What about now? Can you see it now, Pat?
No, it's not. It's just spinning round. It's a little thing spinning round, mate. Ain't working.
The fuck? Let me try this again then. Right.
Well, we're back to the conversation or what? Don't worry, mate.
Well, yeah, go on. What was you saying? Sorry, mate.
That's all right. So what I'm saying is, for like nationalists and
what was you saying, Pat?
Who they're so adamant on keep using this racial language. Yeah. What I'm saying is, you don't need to use it. There's substitutes there, and it ain't helping us at all. Let the left keep talking about that stuff because they are talking about it more and more and digging a hole bigger for themselves. And as I explained earlier, there's like multiple things you can put in its place: indigenous, native, DNA, haplogroups, genetic differences. To describe whatever you want to describe. So I use the word anti-white, the term anti-white. So if someone calls me a racist, straight away, I'll say you're an anti-white. And they say, how am I anti-white? I say, because you're using anti-white language. Only whites are persecuted with this false concept of racism. That's what I say. And at the end of the day, it is a weakness to keep using that language, in my opinion, because it's been proved not to be correct, yeah? It's a weakness. And to keep using it is making our message weaker. So it's out of date, and I just hope people, listen to what I'm trying to say, because people do not sit down at the table in the morning with their kids and that and start talking about the white race and things like that. So, and it ties into all this anti-racism campaign, which is being inflicted on the indigenous population of this country. And there's no end in sight. It's not going to end until we actually get this word out of the arena. It ain't going away. So, do you want to talk about Andrew Doyle? You're right, mate.
Mate, there's something really not fucking right with this stream. It's really not working.
Well, don't worry, mate. I'll keep talking. Yeah. So, Andrew Doyle. Andrew Doyle is an individual on GB News, and he produces a program called Anti-Free Speech Nation. Right? He thinks it's Free Speech Nation, but it's actually Anti-Free Speech Nation. So we've talked about this word racist, yeah. So when someone accuses someone of this racism, they're accusing someone of three different things. Like I said, you believe in a multi-race concept. You think you're superior to that other perceived race, and you're attacking that other perceived race. Or three things at once, right? So Andrew Doyle, who says he's campaigning for free speech, continually uses this term racism, racist. So Islamophobia, transphobia, homophobia, sexism, misogynism. He uses the 7 sins. Yeah, these 7 words, what I just said, are anti-free speech words. So every single case he looks at on his Free Speech Nation show, say it's a racism accusation or whatever, and he always say, "Oh, that isn't racist. No, that's not racist." So he's always got that concept in the background so he's basically a thought policeman. That's what he is. He's going around saying, like, policing all the isms and all the phobias: homophobia, Islamophobia, transphobia, sexism, racism. And the guy is actually pushing an anti-free speech agenda, and he's claiming to be for free speech. He continually promotes trans people on his thing by what he should be saying is it's impossible to transition from a man to a woman. You cannot do that. But he I forgot that one as well. The anti-Semitism, yeah. Yeah, everything he says, every case he looks at, oh no, that's not anti-Semitism, is it? So he's backing up the notion that there is these isms and phobias around the world that needs to be stamped out. And an ism and a phobia is only a thought in your head. Everybody should be allowed to think what they like until they cross the line into violence. As simple as that. And anti-Semitism is the tricky one, the sneaky one, because 95% of the people in Israel are not even Semites. So these people from Europe who have gone to Israel are now taking land off Palestinian Christians who are Semites. So who's being anti-Semit? Where's the anti-Semitism coming from? Which group? If there's a load of Europeans gone to Israel who are not Semites and they're taking land off the Semites who are Palestinians, I mean, how can this have happened? They've managed to switch it around.
Are you trying to call fucking you? Hang on, let me just understand something quickly, Pat. Are you trying to suggest that the Jewish people from Poland and Russia aren't actually Jewish at all?
Ethnically, they're not Semites. Religiously, they are.
They're not ethnical Jews. Semites. They're not ethnic.
Flesh and blood, they are not dark like Semites. Ethiopians are Semites. Arabs are
But they got their noses, though. They got their noses, Pat.
Well, I can't explain the nose, right? All I can say is their skin colour is not Semitic. And they're not from the Middle East. You have to be from the Middle East to be a Semite.
Some would argue that's because some would argue it's because they went to hide in the Caucasus Mountains for a little while. They lost their tan.
I don't know, but all I know is all these accusations of anti-Semitism. The person who's supposedly being attacked.
Hang on. Accusations of anti-Semitism. Let's think about it, because this is supposed to be deconstructing and that. We just heard about all your theories. We ain't actually gone over any definitions or nothing. Yeah. So let's just look at Semitism, what it means to be Semitic. It's a policy or predisposition favorable to the Jews. Right, if that's just Semitism, yeah, what does it take to be anti that? Because they expect a policy or behavior, a predisposition to be favorable towards Jews. So that means if you treat them on an even footing, like normal, like you treat anyone else, that means you're being anti-Semitic by definition. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I treat everyone how I like to be treated myself.
Well, this is it. But this is the thing. But this is they want to be treated favorably, though. They want to be treated better, like, than everyone else.
Right.
That's what it says here, anyway. I don't know how true it is.
Well,
Merriam-Webster.
I don't have a problem with them wanting their own nation, right? Obviously, Palestinians have got a problem about that, right? It's nothing to do with me. The thing I've got a problem with, as a British nationalist...
What about as a Christian?
I've got a problem that there's a Friends of Israel group in every major political party in our country. That's what I've got a problem with. And I don't like it, because they're interfering with our politics. Is there a Friends of UK group in every Israeli political party?
So do you think it's a problem? Do you think it's an issue that the Prime Minister of this country says she's a massive Zionist?
I do, yeah.
Why?
She's obviously been
Co-opted.
She's been manipulated. And Priti Patel was caught in Israel doing skullduggery. I mean, they're all at it. Lib Lab Con, they're all the same. And in the next 2 years, massive things are going to be happening politically in this country. I'll tell your viewers, you go and join a party, preferably not one of these semi-establishment parties, you know, these Farage parties.
Definitely not the fucking Greenie Nonce party either.
But you know, there is two parties you can join: British Democrats or the National Housing Party, United Kingdom. We are similar parties, same policies. We are genuine nationalists. We can tell you what a British person is and what a British citizen is. The difference. We want to stop immigration. We want to no more refugees. We want to leave the Refugee Convention. You know, these semi establishment parties like UKIP, Reclaim, Heritage, and Reform. They're pro-immigration. They want more refugees coming into our country. We have helped enough refugees. You know, the time has come to say no more. Simple as that.
And that's because we're all the same race.
I don't use that terminology. We're human species.
We're all the same species, different tribes, different kennels of breeds, but the same species.
And as a Christian, Christianity.
How does the Palestine thing make you feel as a Christian?
As a Christian, Christianity means strong families, strong borders, and strong nations. A nation means it's for the native people, right? We've had a lot of immigration. We don't need any more, and it's wrong, mate. What's happened?
What about Israel and Palestine? As a Christian.
Well, I have concerns for the Palestinian Christians, because they've been ethnically cleansed as well. This is what I hear. I don't know for sure exactly the ins and outs, but they're getting a bad deal from both.
What do you think about a two-state solution then, carving it up straight down the middle?
To be honest with you, I don't really care, because I don't care for either side. I'm British, and there's conflicts all over the world. I'm not all interested in all the conflicts going on in Africa, for example. But I do acknowledge that it's the Holy Land for the Christians. But there's a lot of Jewish people who don't agree with the modern state of Israel. They don't like it. They don't agree with it. They think it's illegal because they're not supposed to make a state of Israel until their Messiah returns, allegedly. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I don't know about that. They reckon they're in communication with the Messiah now at the minute. Apparently, some rabbi does. But stay on top of this stuff.
I'm not really that interested in Israeli.
It's all deeply pathetic, Pat. It's all
I would say is people in this country shouldn't be taking sides, really, and let them get on with it.
Fair enough.
But so going back to Andrew Doyle, he is an anti-free speech activist. Basically, he's a politically correct thought policeman, and he's got his mate on there, the anti-white knuckle dragging thug. What's his name? Josh Howie. Loves beating the old whitey. He does. And this trans thing. You got multiple presenters on GB News saying, I'm all for trans rights, but then they say they don't want trans women competing in women's sports. But that is what they want. That's what their rights are. It's just a contradiction. It's hypocritical. And
so you don't like GB News much, then?
I do like it, but I think they've got a long way to go. They've got a long way to go. I watch it every day. I'll be honest.
It's a massive part of the fucking problem, Pat.
No need to swear.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, but honestly, they are a massive part of the problem.
There's some good people on there, right? There is some good people, but the people running it, I'll give you an example. The people running that, they are mainstream media. There's no doubt about it. They're like Fox News in America, and they're part of the globalism. So do you remember the black guy on Chelsea Bridge? He had the knife, and the police was tasering him, and it wasn't bringing him down for some reason. And he was going mad, and then all of a sudden he just ran and dived over the bridge into the Thames and died.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right. The police were nowhere near him when he dived in. Right. And do you know what the headline on GB News was?
What?
Black man. No, I don't know if he said black man, but they said man falls into Thames after police trying to arrest him. Like it's
Blaming it on the police.
Basically, yeah, it was terrible. And I just thought, when I saw that headline, I thought this lot are they're globalists, mate. They're just anti-white globalists, just like the rest of them. But there's a few individual presenters, they're trying, and they've probably got their hands tied, but they won't let people like us on there, put it that way. We've got no chance.
You don't swear though, Pat. They should have you on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Isn't it?
I try not to swear in public. I do swear in private. I do confess to my sins, but and repent. But yeah, I try not to swear in public. So you agree then that this whole multi-race concept has been a massive fabrication?
I can prove it.
Was it a deliberate mistake or a genuine mistake?
I can prove it.
You can prove it's a mistake.
I can prove it's a devious deception.
A deliberate
devious deception.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Would you like me to? It weren't working though.
Sorry?
It don't work. The video won't.
The video. Yeah.
I don't know. Hang on, let me try again. Can you see that, Pat?
Yes, you can see it now.
What about now?
It is said
it's playing now.
This man, Prince Henry, the navigator of Portugal, came up with the idea of the transatlantic slave trade. He made Portugal the first European nation to engage in the slave trade from the mid-15th century. He followed countries such as Spain, Britain, France, Netherlands, Denmark, and Sweden. Africans were taken against their will and forced onto slave ships. They were then transported across the Atlantic Ocean. Slavery was supported and made legal by European government and monarch. This type of enslavement was practiced in European colony from the 16th century onwards. Captain John Hawkins made the first known English slavering voyage to Africa in 1562.
Right, so interesting. 1562, she says. Right.
Yeah, but what she has forgotten to say, Jim, what she's forgot to say is that the Africans were already enslaving each other and selling them, and we actually stumbled across this culture. It wasn't even our culture.
Well, that's a debate. That's another whole nother thing, right? But that you're right, you are right, but that's a whole nother thing. The point that we're trying to make here is 800 years race has meant one thing. Yeah. Well, no, since the word come about it before it had meant one thing, and then they'd started all this transatlantic slave trade, right? At the same time, I'm not sharing the right thing, am I? So if I go share this one again. All right. 1560s, right? People descend from a common ancestor, persons. Yeah. This is the mad thing. So it's meant this. Well, no, because it started from 1200. It's meant this, yeah, up until 1556 or 52, apparently, or 1550, it says here. That's when they've tried to change the definition, which happens to coincide with the start of the transatlantic slave trade. And I've done some more looking around, and then I come across this, which is really quite interesting. It's this one. It's called Half Truths and History, the debate over Jews and slavery, right? It goes on. I'm not going to read all of it to you to bore you, yeah? But the bit that I found most telling and interesting was no, it's not that far down. I might have to read it, boys, because I'm lost. Basically, what it says in here, because I can't fucking find it now. Excuse me. Oh, let me just read it quickly then. Actually, I got a better idea. Can you hear that?
No.
Yeah, you can't hear that, can you?
No.
You can't hear that. I know you can't hear that already. So hang on. All right. What about that?
No.
Can you hear that?
No.
You can't hear that?
No.
Fuck's sake, man. The point was there was people bringing them over on boats, and then there was supposed to be Jews that were selling them, right, at auction. And then apparently there'd be Jews at the auction that would then buy them and sell them to other people to put a little bit on top, as they do, right? Or as you do, whatever. But the point that I'm getting at was it was the Jews that was buying them and selling them to people, apparently, according to this, and it's got quite a bit of citations with it as well. It's quite a good article, to be fair, if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Send it over to me after.
Yeah, I'll post it in the chat now for anyone else that wants to have a look.
I mean, the sad thing about it, all that slavery thing, is what really should have happened after the American Civil War in 1865 is all those African slaves should have been taken back to where they were stolen from. Because when something is stolen and then recovered, it's taken back to its rightful, like where it was stolen from. And but what I've read is a lot of them didn't want to go back to Africa because they didn't want to be enslaved again by their own people. So it's a sad situation, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But just to let the viewers know, I just don't agree with any immigration at all. If I was Prime Minister in 1945, I wouldn't have allowed any immigration to settle permanently. The only exception I will give is marriage. So if you had some temporary workers who had to be given visas to temporary work in the UK, and one of them fell in love with a native, I wouldn't be against that. But to allow someone who has no connection to this country and give them a British passport and let them settle here, I don't agree with that at all. Doesn't mean to say that I want to reverse everything what's happened, because there's 4th, 5th, 6th generation immigration here now, and it's just ridiculous to even campaign for that. So, but I am a nationalist, and I don't agree with immigration.
So if you feel how Pat feels, join up to NHP UK.
That's it, because we can make a difference. I don't think it's too late to save this country. It's never too late to save your nation. And even if we do become a minority, which is highly likely, let's have it right, because there's no party anywhere near getting in power yet to stop it. David Coleman's report, 2066, he predicted that the indigenous population would become a minority by 2066 if immigration levels stayed the same. He didn't talk anything about repatriation. It was just immigration levels. And if we completely stop permanent settlement and immigration, we can prevent that. But
When was that? When did he say that, though?
This was in 2011, I think.
Fuck me, we're well fucked then. That was fucking years ago, bro.
Yeah, but he said by 2066. So, but also our party would be in favour of, a government having a financial assistance if there were immigrant people who wanted to leave the UK and go back to somewhere where they feel more comfortable, because they may have realised it's a big mistake because it's not really their country. Like they might feel better with more mosques or more halal, something like that, and we would be in favour of helping them do that. But we're not going to be putting figures down and numbers, expecting we want this amount of people to leave and things like that, because people ain't going to leave. It's simple as that. And but yeah, I think we can make a difference. We can save this country. I really do. And the main thing is housing. There's over 1 million people waiting for council housing in this country, and the dinghies are flooding in as we speak. The Home Secretary has resigned, who was supposed to be the best person to sort it out. She hasn't stopped one dinghy, and it's just out of control now. And I don't think anything serious is going to be done until the Tories and the Labour Party crumble, which the equivalent in France have, in Italy, possibly in Sweden as well recently, and that's going to happen here. So
that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is Labour are going to get him, mate.
And they may be even worse than the Tories, because both parties are split.
They are gonna be worse, aren't they? They're gonna be worse.
Well,
you heard on it. They was over fucking lockdowns and that. Labour don't sound good, mate.
Everyone says Labour's worse, but the Tories have broken every single immigration record for illegals, legal, and refugees.
Yeah, and if you think the way they're censoring tweets and stuff now is bad, wait until Labour get in control.
Well, like I say, both of those two parties are split down the middle, and that's why the Tories can never have. They're going to keep changing leaders, because half the party hates the other side. So whichever leader comes in, they want to get rid of them straight away, and it's going to be the same for Labour when they get in. But you never know; something could happen. I'm not saying NHP UK is going to definitely break through, but we're standing in elections. We're only 6 months old, and we've got an election on the 17th of November. Please get in touch if you can help John Lawrence in Oldham, knock on doors or whatever. If you're in the Northwest, give us a shout. This will be our 4th election in 6 months, and we're not shy on the leaflets. We tell them that immigration needs to be stopped. We need to put UK citizens first for housing, for jobs, and we're not politically correct. In John's ward, the sitting councillor, she passed away. Labour Party candidate, she passed away, and they brought in another pretty well-known Labour person to stand in that election. So John's very busy knocking on doors, leafleting, and all the rest of it. And you never know, we might get a miracle there.
Fingers crossed, Pat.
Yes. So you can visit our website, nationalhousingparty.uk. I'm on Twitter, NHP UK official. John Lawrence is NHP UK leader on Twitter, and on his YouTube is NHP UK TV. And come and have a look what we're about. We've got a few things on our website and that. And we basically just want to kick the Lib Lab con out. We're anti-professional politicians, put it that way.
Sounds good to me. Well, that bit at least.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I think you're right, Pat. I think you're right about quite a lot of stuff, mate, to be honest with you. I think you got the right sort of ideas. I think the policy in this country for immigration is an absolute joke. But I don't know if the masses will accept a working man to dictate and delegate finances of a country, or even not even just the fiscal matters, but all the overseeing. Do you know what I mean? It's a big thing. It's a lot of responsibility, and people tend to trust these sorts of people out of Eton, didn't they? For some reason, not so much trust, but just trust that they've got the capabilities to not get us into war or not fucking
It's a fix. It's all set up. They know who's going to get in and all that.
Right.
And but like I said, we're around 2 years behind because of Brexit. But in Italy and Sweden and France, they have literally wiped out the regular parties like the Labour Conservative Party, and we're actually seeing it now. This like they're collapsing now.
But that Italian one, that Italian one's a weft puppet though, right?
She's a bit suspect, I must admit. But
she wanted the digital passes and that, yeah.
Yes, but the thing is, the mainstream media are treating her as far right fascist. So that means they do not want her, and they don't ever do that to people like the Lib Lab Con or the Greens or the SNP. Do you get what I'm saying?
I mean that in the last 2 years that terminologies which have been thrown out so willy-nilly, it's sort of lost all sort of what's it called weight and gravity.
Yeah. But they still don't use it on the Lib Lab Con or the Greens or the SNP. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's still there's still a bit of a difference. But let me just tell you our solution to the Dover crisis. Yeah, this is our sort of civilized solution. Yeah. So we need to leave the Refugee Convention because that's the root cause of why they're coming across the channel, yeah? Once we've left that, we introduce strict laws of 3 years imprisonment for illegal entry into the country. Deportation is not a deterrent. We've had multiple cases of serious murderers, criminals coming back into our country 3 times after being deported. They just don't care. They just keep trying to get back in. So we'd set a 3-year prison sentence. We'd set a date. Say a year's time, we'd set a date for the estimated 2 million illegal immigrants in the UK to leave. If they take the opportunity to leave and take the amnesty, they have to leave their fingerprints, their photograph and DNA at a seaport or an airport when they leave. If they haven't committed a serious crime, they will be allowed to leave and banned for life. And then anyone who is caught entering after this amnesty date, they will be getting 3 years. All the people we put into the detention centres, we'll have to build hundreds and hundreds of detention centres. It's 2 million people we're talking about, yeah? But these detention centres will be built so they can be turned into social housing once we've got rid of all the illegals. So all the social housing will be then allocated to the estimated 1 million people of our own people who are waiting for housing. And
that's genius, Pat.
Thank you very much.
Is that your idea?
Well, me and John came up with that idea. We talk about our policies, and this is the only plan that someone's put forward what could actually solve the problem. But as I said, the semi-establishment parties, UKIP, Heritage, and Reform UK, they're never going to say we need to completely stop accepting refugees. That is the big problem. What has happened in 1951 when they organised this refugee convention? They basically gave the rights to refugees, so they've got more rights than the nation state. So anyone can turn up on your shores. You can't treat them as a criminal. You've got to give them a fair hearing. And then if they are a refugee, you've got to give them citizenship for life. And we've done that for millions of people. And we can't do it anymore. It's over. Like, it's a stampede at Dover, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's our solution. And you know, you can't deport someone. So that's another thing. So we give them a 3-year prison sentence for illegal entry. If they refuse to give their identity, they stay in prison until they organise their papers. Because you cannot deport someone if you went to Saudi Arabia, jumped over the wall, got in Saudi Arabia, they caught you, and you wouldn't give them your real name. They couldn't deport you. Well. They probably would, yeah. But if they weren't going to kill you, they couldn't deport you here until we know who you are. Because we're not going to just accept someone if we don't know who they are.
Right.
That's the big problem. That's why Boris Johnson and all these absolute traitors keep saying they want to give an amnesty for illegal immigrants to give them citizenship, because they know they won't put them in prison until they leave the country. And they know they won't do that, so they won't give their ID and they can't be deported. And it's like a catch-22. So we need to detain hundreds of thousands of these illegal immigrants until they leave the country.
Sounds like a good plan, mate. I like the sound of it. It's a good idea.
Thank you. So yeah, that's our Dover solution for the housing crisis on the private sector. Housing prices are through the roof. Where I live, yeah, there's 1-bedroom flats going for 900 grand. Yeah, so if you want to get a mortgage for one of them, and this is like in the middle of loads of council estates, yeah, 900 grand for a 1-bedroom flat. You need to get 90 grand for a deposit for them to. They might not even say they're going to give you a mortgage, but you've got to find 90 grand to even be considered. And it's multi-billionaire Chinese people are buying these flats, and Russians, Chinese, Americans, Saudis, these multi-billionaires are just buying up properties all over the country. We've got some statistics on our website. If you look at our website and you see the nationalising the housing crisis, and in the last 20 years, like the jump has been unbelievable, and these prices are never going to go down until we take our housing market off the globalist market. We need to nationalise it. So what we would suggest, this is one of our ideas, is we set a date and we say to all the foreign owners of the housing and businesses, because all our football clubs are owned by foreigners now, and it's not right. We'd say to them all, say, look, this is the date. In a year's time, we're going to give you a year to sell the properties or businesses to a UK citizen. If they don't sell it to a UK citizen by that date, the government would give them the money and take it off them. They'd give them the money they paid for it unless the going rate of the price of that property had dropped well below what it is, and then they would be given what the going rate was. But that, in my opinion, that's the only way housing prices are going to come down, because our housing market is on the globalist market. We're a nationalist party. We believe in nationalist policies, and we want to put the UK people first.
So how's that going to work, Pat? I don't understand what you mean, taking it off the globalist market. So
we would make it illegal for foreigners to own property in this country, like it is in Thailand. In Thailand, a foreigner can't buy land.
That's what you didn't say. Right. Yeah. So they wouldn't be able to own a house.
No. Like, think about it, right? All these billionaires in China or Saudi or even America, they own property here. They don't even live here. Why do they have to have
what about the business owners that own businesses and all the infrastructure that's run by them?
I don't think that foreigners should own businesses in this country. I think you should be
I'm not saying whether or not they should. I'm asking, what about the ones that it's all part of what will be used on a day-to-day basis by the people? Like, we were just gonna. No,
well, like I said, we set a date for them to sell the business to a UK citizen, and if they don't, the government will take it off them and pay them what they paid for it.
And I should imagine that most of them would like, out of protest, wait until get the money off the government, like, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And then if you got all that head on at the same time, I don't know if that's as good as an idea as the other one.
It's a further discussion to have, but at the end of the day, why is Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Chelsea all owned by foreigners? And they've just sold their game to the rest of the world. And I don't believe in that. I think it should be British people owning our businesses in this country. Yeah, so that would be on the private sector, and obviously
I just wonder what sort of effect that would have on the economy.
Well, it would have a shocking effect, and that's what would bring the house pricing down, the housing prices. Because at the moment, nobody can get on the ladder. What else is the solution?
I don't know, but I reckon a load of people would leave the country, though. Not just, I mean, indigenous people and all.
Why is that?
I don't know, because they could just see the quality of life is going to drop in the country, I reckon.
Yeah, but places like Thailand, they have got those policies.
Yeah, Thailand's a third world fucking country, mate.
Well, I think it's the right policy, personally. They don't want their country to be bought up by foreigners, because that's what would happen.
I'm saying, yeah, you might be onto something, but I reckon an all-out expulsion of everyone.
I didn't say expulsion. I didn't say expulsion. I said we a ban on foreign ownership of property.
And then they got to sell it within a year because you're expelling them.
But a lot of them don't live here anyway. This is the whole point.
All right. I'm just saying.
This is the whole point. There's people buying properties in this country. Look, I'll give you an example, right? I know a council flat, right? My mate, he's 30 years old, right? And he lived in the front room of a one-bedroom flat of his mum for 30 years, right? He went down to Camden Council, right? He said, I need to get a flat. We ain't got no flats. I need to go on the list. You can't get on the list. He said, what do you mean I can't? He said, you've got no disabilities. He was born here, right? He's not even English, right? He's Serbian, right? But he was born here, so you know what I mean? He's a Londoner, right? So 30 years living in the front room. They said no flats. There's no waiting list, right? So then they had no other choice. His mum sold the flat, right, to someone in Singapore. The Singapore buyer doesn't even step foot in this country. Now she's renting out that flat for £400 a week to the English. The council flat. That's disgusting, isn't it? And she ain't
£400 a week.
She ain't even set foot in this country, mate. She's bought a property, and if it's wrong, mate. And this is what is pushing up all the prices, you see, because it's a globalist market. Something's got to be done about it.
No, I get you. I'm with you. I was just thinking, laterally, like, where does that go? Like, what's the effect going to be? How bad is it going to get as a result of it?
Well,
is it going to balance out or what?
At the end of the day, all this globalism is quite a new thing. So I don't think this sort of stuff went on in most of history, whereas like you've got people who can just buy up businesses and property in other countries and not even enter into it's just not right. And I don't know what the laws are in like Russia and places like that, but in places like Thailand and that, you can't get citizenship unless you marry one of them, and you can never buy land because you're a foreigner. And I personally agree with that policy. So yeah.
Yes. Well, it makes sense. I get that.
We've also discussed nationalising the utilities. I personally think the train should be nationalised, gas should be nationalised, water should be nationalised, and electricity should be nationalised. But to me and John agree on those four things, like the trains.
So you're sort of like socialist as well. You're like national socialist.
No, we're nationalist
socialists. Nationalist socialists.
Christian nationalists.
Yeah, but if you want to socialise all the utilities and that,
but
that makes you fucking Christian nationalist socialist, mate.
Christianity and socialism is chalk and cheese.
Diametrically opposed.
Yes. So I'm Christian. Like the welfare state has replaced Christianity in this country, and I just can't stand it. The church.
Someone tried to tell me the other day Christianity is socialism.
No, that's totally wrong. The socialists would kill Jesus if they got hold of him today. That's what the communists done. That's what they try to do in Spain. They just went around executing the priests and everything. That's what they do. They want religion out of the way so they can impose their welfare state, which they've done. They've done it without violence, really, in this country. But the thing about me is the National Health Service is a different kettle of fish. I personally think that should be privatised. So I think
what's the thinking behind that then?
Because it's a failed experiment, isn't it?
Is it not private already?
No, it's a welfare state.
But they're all national. They're all private trusts, aren't they?
I don't know the ins and outs, but all I know is that.
I'll explain it to you. They run for profit and they're private. It's that simple. And they get their money. Yeah, they get their receipts and then they go to the government and claim it back.
Right. So it's a scam.
Yes, mate. Like everything else.
Yeah. So in terms of the train networks, is the reason I think that should be nationalised is because you can't really have a fair competition there. Like there's only on a lot of routes, there's only one track. So like you can't really have much of a competition.
There is no competition. There is no competition.
So like, I think that should be run by the government personally, and also with water and gas and electricity. So I'm a nationalist in some areas, but things like healthcare, you've got to have some sort of consequence. Otherwise, you're getting a very unhealthy nation.
Yeah, but we're back to the thing again. Well, I asked you about the NHS because you said it should be better off privatised, and I'm saying, well, it's sort of like that at the minute. And you.
Well, it's not really, because in a real free market, if there was a private,
you'd have
company,
to pay for the service. You'd have to pay for the service that you got off them.
Put it this way: the government are going to step in and save those companies, aren't they? If something happens.
Like the banks.
There's no consequence. Yeah, well, the government's corrupt. The whole thing is corrupt. Like the Bank of England just bought up all the government bad debt. So if me and you failed on our mortgage, they would just take our ass off us. But the government are allowed to fail on their debt and get bailed out, but we can't. So it's a completely corrupt system.
And they, just for anyone that didn't know, they bail themselves out by printing more money, making more inflation.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know.
Yeah, so they just printed a whole load of new money to buy a load of government debt to try and kickstart it again, and it's on the verge of collapsing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, any day now. Any day now.
Could be any time now. Yeah. So, any more questions?
Are you going to? Do you know Jeff White? Did you know Jeff White?
I know who he is.
Well, you know he's dead.
I know he passed away. Yeah, I've never met him or anything like that.
No, I never met him.
No.
All right, so you won't be going to his remembrance vigil thing.
Oh, are you?
Well, I don't know. I was like, well, yeah, I am. Yeah, Saturday, I think.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, God rest his soul. I heard he was a freedom fighter and all that, and I'll see him on a few YouTube videos at the process and stuff. And I'm unvaccinated. I'm completely against them testing the untested vaccine on people, and it's disgusting what happened, and we mustn't forget what happened, because that was brutal, mate. What they done, it was just unbelievable.
They're still doing it. They're still injecting people. People are still dying suddenly. Children are still dying suddenly. And the media is still covering it up. So they're still at it. You can't forget something that you're still living through, can you?
No, it's still pretty. I mean, the amount of money what was involved with that is just phenomenal. Like, and they just went 400 billion. Yeah, we'll have that. Borrow that. Print that. 400 billion. Send that to Ukraine. Print that lot. Send it for the government debt. And it's like, there's a lot of people saying this is all deliberate. They're deliberately trying to crash it. It looks like it. It looks like
exactly.
It.
When you take a policy like you're going to shut everything down, you're going to stop everyone from going to work, and then to sort of help that all out, you're then going to issue everyone money to keep them at home. Like, they're trying to crash it from when they're pulling out stunts like that, mate. It's fucking.
Exactly.
From when I heard that, I thought this is the beginning, mate. This is the start of the end, mate. We are fucked.
Yeah. Stay at home. We'll pay you. Just stay at home. As if
that, and all the normies, just like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I'm involved in that. You're 8 months down the line and that, still picking their ass, wanking fucking Netflix. Sorry, but do you know what I mean? It's a joke, and there's millions of them like that, millions. Yeah. So there you go.
Well, thanks for having me on, Jim.
Oh yeah, sweet Pat. Thanks for coming, mate. I thoroughly appreciate your time this evening.
Well, I like what you do, mate. You know what I mean? You want to get to the truth. You want to call out hypocrisy, and I'm the same. That's why I call out GB News. I do watch it every day. That's what I have to watch if you want to know what's going on, you've either got to watch GB News or the mainstream media, Sky or BBC. I'm not going to watch Sky or BBC. GB News have to do for the time being. But there is an alternative. Unity News Network. UNN.
I mean, yeah, you can shill for old Cluesy. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I don't mind Cluesy. He's all right. People do try to talk shit about him and that, but I think he has a pretty based perspective on most things. His outlook's pretty down to earth.
He's willing to call out GB News, and so am I. And that's why they'll never have me on there, because I've done a protest outside their studios. You know what I mean?
I've seen them videos when you caught Dominique and the other one getting in the taxi.
Yeah.
He's very polite with them, wouldn't you?
Well, I've tried to be. You know what I mean?
And they still laughed at you and just said nothing, didn't they?
Well, they just know I'm right and they can't say nothing because I'm filming them,
that's the point. That's the point, though. So they're all part of the problem, aren't they?
Well, they are, unfortunately. I mean, I do like Dominique. I mean, I wish she wouldn't gravitate towards the Farage cronies and all that. And I like back to David Clues. The thing I like about him, he will call out GB News, and they need to be called out because they are not for free speech. They are not against cancel culture. If people want to see my videos on my channel, I speak to one or two of the presenters outside GB News about their cancel culture policy of banning about 100,000 activists, patriotic activists, from joining their parties, UKIP, Reform, Heritage, and I'm just pointing it out really, because how can they go around saying they're campaigning against cancel culture when they've banned loads of people from their parties? It's just unbelievable.
They're liars, aren't they? That's they're controlled opposition. That's what it is.
Well, they're definitely the people running that station are globalists, and people like 100%. The BNP, National Housing Party, British Democrats. They'll never let them on there because we are the real deal, and they won't. They don't want us anywhere near the power. So yeah, it was a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me on, and don't worry about all the upsets and that. We nearly got it perfect, but you know.
I'm gonna make another video anyway. I'm gonna go through it all. I'm gonna fucking make a video about it. Yeah, just so they can really talk about me.
All right, mate. So do you want to end it then?
Oh yeah, may as well, won't we? If you finished.
Well, I was going to say, how do I end it? What do I do?
Leave studio. See it?
It's not on there, mate.
Bottom little red
cross.
Oh
yeah. The red cross. The red cross.
Yeah. Symbols.
Oh, thanks a lot, Jim. Keep up the good work, mate.
Thank you for stopping by, mate. I appreciate it.
Nice one,
bruv.
Cheers,
Thank you. Well, boys, that was Pat McGinnis of NHP UK. Basically, to surmise, if you weren't listening and if you've only just tuned in, I'll explain it to you. I was going to tell a joke then, but I forgot where I am. Right, so we're getting invaded and there's no way out. Basically it. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. I ain't really got much to say. I would have fucked around on the other thing, but I've got nothing I can do on this. It's all fucking, it's hard work sharing shit. But yeah, I'm gonna make this video anyway. All right. Thanks for watching.